How much money do you need to retire? This is a very common and probably the most asked financial planning question, especially as it relates to retirement. How much money do you need to have saved up so that you can live a comfortable lifestyle in retirement? And so I was sitting around last night and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put together a video on this topic. It's going to be fairly high level. I was literally just sitting around with my HP financial calculator, and I thought that I'd put this video together for you, and hopefully it helps you get in the ballpark. So the first part of the video, I'm going to talk about our retiree situation. Their names are Dave and Sue. I'm going to talk about their financial plan, and we're going to talk about how much money they would need to retire based on different monthly income levels that they might be interested in sort of generating for themselves in retirement. And because this video is very high level, and because it's always better to work with an advisor or to do some more detailed analysis work on your own to help figure out what your actual retirement number is, in the second half of the video, I'm going to talk about all the different variables that might cause the numbers that I'm about to show you to be different for your own unique situation. But before I get started, my name is Mark Walhout. I run an investment advisory and financial planning business called Walhout Financial. I help people with retirement, and I put together this channel to help share ideas and concepts that I'm using to help people with their retirements every single day. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel to get more retirement videos sent to your feed. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to introduce our retirement couple. Their names are Dave and Sue, and their question is how much do they need to retire? So we're going to start off with some quick assumptions. They're retiring at age 65. We expect that they're going to live to around age 95, so we're planning for a 30-year retirement. As far as investments are concerned, we're going to assume that they're going to get 5% per year on their investment portfolio. I'm going to talk more about that later. And we're also going to assume 2.1% inflation. So whatever income numbers that we're talking about for the rest of the video, those are numbers that are going to go up every year to keep pace with inflation. That's a really important detail. Inflation is a big risk in retirement, and we all have seen sort of inflation bubble up to the surface of people's worries, especially as it relates to retirement over the past year and a half. So we certainly want to make sure that whatever we're doing, we're accounting for inflation. And then in the light blue text at the top, you see I've done a quick calculation here. So we're going to assume that Dave and Sue are each getting Canada Pension Plan at 80%. So that'll work out to be about $2,100 per month combined for the two of them. They're also going to get old age security at 100%. So for the two of them combined, that's $1,400 a month. So before we talk about how much they need to generate from their portfolio, we know that they're going to have about $42,000 per year coming in from CPP and old age security. This is just our baseline assumption. So as we go through with all the next set of numbers, the different income numbers that you see here on the bottom part of the chart, what I've done is I've calculated how much investment assets do you need to have coupled with the income that Dave and Sue are going to get from old age security and Canada Pension Plan in order to create the income number that we're talking about here on the left. So we're solving for that number in the calculation. So we'll dive right into the numbers. Again, I'm using just a simple financial calculator to do this analysis. If you're interested in the calculation, if you want to check my math, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the formula for the first calculation, $5,000 per month, in the show notes so you can kind of see how I got to that number. And if you want to play around with it, if you have your own financial calculator, you can check the math and figure it out for yourself. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with the first number. So Dave and Sue said, okay, Mark, I know we're going to have $42K coming in from Canada Pension Plan and old age security, or about $3,500 per month. I want my total income per month to be $5,000 per month. How much money do we need to have saved in investments for that? So the number for Dave and Sue in this case is at around $375,000. Now we move to $6,000 per month, and their need is around $620,000 saved up. $7,000 a month, $865,000. $8,000 a month, $1,115,000. $9,000 a month, $1,360,000. $10,000 per month, $1,610,000. And then $12,500 per month in spending is at around $2,225,000. And again, just to recap, the numbers that I just described, these are the amounts that Dave and Sue would have to have saved up to have generated or to generate the amounts of income that I've listed on the left-hand side of the chart when combined with around $42,000 per year of Canada Pension Plan and old age security income. So that's the logic. I've thrown a lot of numbers at you here. Now you're watching this video and you're probably feeling one of two things. You're either feeling excited because you're like, hey, I'm on track. I can see myself living a retirement that's somewhere along this spectrum. And based on where I believe I want to land in terms of income, I either have this amount saved up or I'm on track to getting there. And if so, I would say that's great. That's awesome news, but do stick around because there are other factors and variables at play in a retirement plan that we need to talk about that might influence these numbers. The other thing that you might be feeling is sort of anxious or upset because you see yourself wanting to have a retirement that might be, on the higher end of the scale potentially, but you don't feel as though you're anywhere close to having these types of investments saved up. So there's forces, both positive and negative. I call them variables in the second part of the presentation that will impact this number and either make it a larger number or it might make that number lower for you, depending on your situation. The first thing is that these numbers that I just walked through don't include any pension assets. So if you have a private pension through work, then of course that's going to reduce the amount you need in investment assets in order to make your retirement work. You might also look at home equity. So if you own your home in retirement and you don't have the amount of money that we talked about saved up for your retirement in the previous page, you might be considering downsizing in retirement. And this is a common strategy, especially in Canada with house prices that have gone up so much. As people move through their retirements, they might change their living situation, and that might give them the opportunity to unlock some of the equity in their home, either via a downsize or via potentially even a reverse mortgage in the later stages of retirement, depending on what their needs are. Reverse mortgages, borrowing in retirement, that's probably a separate topic for a different video. And by the way, if I'm going through this, as you're watching this video and more questions bubble up, just drop those questions in the comment section. I'm very quick at replying to questions, and a lot of the inspiration for future videos comes from the questions that I get from you in the comments. So certainly drop a comment in the comment section and hit the like button while you're at it. The next tailwind is part-time income. So you may retire from your regular full-time work, but you might take on some part-time income in retirement. That will certainly be a tailwind. It'll be a boost to your retirement plan, and it may reduce the amount that you need to have saved up for retirement. And then finally, spending may reduce as retirement progresses. In the previous page, all the numbers that I talked about assume that the beginning withdrawal amount would remain the exact same adjusted for inflation for the entire span of your 30-year retirement. And in practice, what I see with clients, what we know from data that we have and research into retirement spending patterns, we know that as people age, they tend to spend less. And so all the numbers that I talked about above, they are assuming that spending will remain constant. They will increase on a real basis, on an inflation-adjusted basis throughout retirement. But if you plan to sort of spend more in the early phase of retirement and spend less in the later phases of retirement, then of course that will reduce your retirement numbers on the previous page. Now let's talk about some of the risks or things that might cause your retirement number to need to increase. So the first one is taxes. The taxes is a big expense in retirement. The previous page, the calculations that I did, they were not factoring in taxes. And really your tax situation is going to depend on how your investments are held. If all of your money is held in RRSPs, all those withdrawals are going to be taxable income when you take them out. So you'll need to increase or add a buffer of about anywhere between 10 and 20 to 25% for income taxes if all of your retirement money is in pre-tax accounts. On the other hand, if you've got a lot of your retirement money in tax-free savings accounts and in non-registered accounts, you'll still need to factor in some taxes if you've got non-registered accounts, but your tax assumptions and your tax plan will be different. So taxes are going to be a reality of life. The reality while we're working, they're going to be a reality in retirement. So we're going to need to make sure we factor those in. The more money you have in pre-tax accounts, the higher your number is going to need to be to factor in the friction of those additional taxes. The next one's poor returns. So we've assumed that we're going to get 5% per year annualized returns, but we know through observing history of market returns that we don't always get higher returns. Now, this one could be a positive as well, because historically speaking, a portfolio of 50 to 60% equities, 40 to 50% fixed income has generated higher returns than 5%. So we could potentially get higher returns, but you also need to be ready to have poorer returns. So we may not have the return experience that we hope to have when we set out at the beginning of retirement. We need to be able to adapt to that as retirement progresses. So if you want to be on the safe side, you may want to plan for lower returns as your retirement progresses, or at very least continue to check in on that plan. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. The next one is unexpected expenses. So The numbers that we talked about on the previous chart are just assumed regular monthly income amounts. But if you have some unexpected expense, that might create a situation where you need to have more money kind of set off to the side in either an emergency account or some other type of savings vehicle to help you through those unexpected events. So here I'm thinking about, a major repair to your home that you weren't expecting, a health issue that has created a need for you to have more care than you expected to have, more care than you can get, that is coming from the province that's covered by provincial healthcare plans. So those unexpected expenses can pop up, and they can make a big difference to your retirement plan. So that's going to put some more upward pressure, I guess, on the amount that you need to have saved up for retirement. And now we're going to talk about some of the key takeaways. So we've provided you with, a case study, Dave and Sue, 30-year retirement, different amounts that they need to have saved up based on how much income they want to generate, some of the variables that might weigh in on their plan. So let's talk about some of the things that you can take away from this video. I think the big thing here is that financial plans are all unique. Depending on your situation, your plan will change. A plan for one person is going to look very different than a plan for another person. We've already talked about some of the variables that sort of make that true. But the big takeaway, the encouragement is just consider getting some help, right? I know a lot of people, they want to do this stuff on their own. If you're watching this video, you might yourself be a do-it-yourself investor, a do-it-yourself financial planner, and that's totally fine. I think that for a decision or a period of time in your life as important as retirement, I think that it does benefit you to get a second set of eyes, some help with that. You can work with a financial advisor like myself. You can work with, maybe even your accountant if they're comfortable walking you through some of these numbers. But it is helpful to get a second set of eyes to help, sort of step you through this big decision. And I've included some resources in the comment section below or in the description section below, including a how much to retire quiz where I will provide, there's a short survey, you provide some answers, and then I'll give you a personalized video that provides you with some more high-level advice or high-level guidance based on your situation. And maybe that'll kind of give you even a further boost in the right direction. And then also a link if you wanted to get some time on my calendar and we could spend some more time talking about your situation. I'm happy to talk through that with you. And then finally, the big one is monitor and adapt. So there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a financial plan that you sort of set and forget at the beginning of retirement. Life changes. Retirement is a really long time. Consider 30 years being retired. A lot of people, they'll work 30, 35-year careers. That's a really long time. You're going to spend as much time, or in some cases, nearly as much time in retired life as you did spend in working life. And so the idea that we would set out on retirement and never come back to that plan, revisit it, make sure our assumptions are correct, adapt as our preferences change, as our goals and our dreams for our retirement change, that just seems kind of silly to me. So no matter what you're doing, if you've got a plan in place and you're setting on a retirement, just make sure that you're checking in on that plan to make sure you can adapt as life and circumstances changed. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. Again, there's resources in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel if you want to get more of these videos sent to your feed. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll speak with you soon. Take care.